Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7, and today we're going to check out the Orbital knives Calysto with the ultimate goal of seeing if this knife deserves a spot in your collection or your daily carry. Now, this knife does come from it comes from Orbital Knives through the Lefty Pass-Around group. So this knife is far from brand new, which is going to be evident in just a moment. As with any micarta, it's going to show some signs of wear. If I could just, there we go. So, we've got just a little bit of use on the scale. So whenever you get one of these, it's going to come much closer to this kind of white red than it is this darker red, and then as you use it over time, it'll turn that darker red. Just a little disclaimer. All right, so let's talk about Orbital Knives. They're a newer company, or at the very least, a newer to me company. It was started by two gentlemen by the name of Eddie and Luke. And they're currently working on a collaboration with Paul Munko. The knife looks absolutely wicked. You can see it on their website. Paul Munko, if you don't know, is responsible for things like the Kaiser Mystic, also things like the Bestech Constellation, right? So some, Paul Munko's working with some big makers, and I can say the stuff he's doing with Orbital Knives is going to be right up there, if not higher than those models. So definitely worth a check out. Now, as far as this knife goes, we're looking at, on the handle, full micarta scales. We have steel liners with a liner lock. We've got plain tie hardware. And then a titanium milled, I would say deep carry pocket clip. We are nice and centered. And I'll say this, micarta can be a hit or a miss, and I'm not the biggest micarta guy, but this micarta is super grippy, which just adds, utilitarian element to the knife, which I'm always a big fan of. Now, I do believe we have half of a backspace that runs 50% of the way up the blade, or up the back of the knife. We do not have a lanyard hole, which is fine. Nobody cares. As far as the blade goes, some people might debate. I'm going to say that we have a clip point. We've got plenty of belly, and just the smallest hint of poon. Just because it goes up a little bit and then it goes down. So I'm comfortable calling this a clip point harpoon. And if that bothers you, well, so be it. Call it whatever you want. We've got this really nice stone wash finish on the blade, kind of like a working finish, because that stone wash is going to hide a lot of the scratches and stuff that you get from putting it to use. And then the blade steel is 154 cm. So 154 cm is going to be cool for just having just a good general balanced steel, right? It's not winning awards in any category, but it's also not, completely terrible at this one thing, right? Overall, it's a very balanced steel. It's also a steel that you'll find on knives that are $40. You can also find it on knives that are $400. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out some of those higher end, fancy like ProTech Godsons. A lot of those are in 154 cm, right? It's the same steel we're looking at here. Now, as far as the ergos, so for me, I like smaller knives, right? So for me, this fits great. But I wear a large size glove, and for some people, they might be wanting a little bit more room. You don't really have the ability to choke up, because this is that's kind of it, right? You can go on top of it a little bit, but you don't really have anything guarding you from that edge. So play it safe. I'd come back here. And like I said, this feels good for me. I'm happy with it. But if you wear large size gloves and you know that you want to have extra room, or you want something that's going to be spacious, then this probably isn't going to satisfy that need. As far as the weight goes, this thing is super lightweight. I mean, you can probably tell from looking at it, but we're talking, my Carter's lightweight, and yeah, we have the steel liners, but I mean, I'd probably guess this thing at like, I don't know, 3 ounces, something in that ballpark. It's really lightweight, and what that means is it's also agile, right? You're going to be able to maneuver, manipulate, really do whatever you need to. That belly is so quick to go to the go down to the surface. Your draw cuts are going to be great, slicing is going to be great, and even if you need to tap into that edge, the edge does sit above the pivot, but not so much so that you can't still easily get that tip to the surface and cut through whatever you need to, right? And this little itty bitty tiny poon does help give you a little indexing spot. It doesn't do anything in the way of like holding your finger in place, and I do wish we had a little bit of jimping, but overall for light EDC, I mean, first impressions are pretty good. Action is really, really nice. You get that thwack, you get a shake shut. This thing's not going to guillotine on you, and to me that's a good thing. I don't like a guillotine. And aesthetically, this, just looking at it, it looks like knife, right? But a few things that I appreciate that have been done here is, one, the blade to handle ratio looks good, right? It doesn't have that weird jacked up look like it's, like, oh, why didn't they add, another 2 inches of blade? Like, the overall profile of this is very handsome. I'm also a big fan of oversized opening holes. I mean, it just takes up, relative to the blade, it's not like it's, oversized as in way too big, but, you're talking about taking up 35% of the blade. And to me, that just adds a little extra attitude and a little extra flair to what would otherwise be, somewhat of a mundane knife. So the fact that they give us a little bit of poon, we have this oversized opening hole. We've got this nice, almost like, kind of like a pistol grip, like where we hold it up here, but we've got this whole area back here that we can kind of grip onto to lock ourselves in, right? Like an anchor point. And, and you can kind of tell too, because you lock these 3 fingers in, right? Along this, you're anchored in, and then, even 2 fingers. And now you've got the ability to pinch up here on the pivot, to kind of guide with your pointer finger, and with how light and nimble this blade is, you're going to get maximum utility out of it. So this is just a first impressions, but, I had a decent amount to say about this knife. It feels good in hand. It's snappy, fidgety. I think I'll enjoy carrying this one. Now, as far as the actual use of it, that's yet to be determined. I might have it for a couple of days and be like, oh, this is terrible. Or I might have it and be blown away by it. So anyone who's been watching my videos consistently knows that I've been a little wishy-washy with where I do my length measurements and my weights. And there's been a few videos where I haven't even mentioned the blade steel. I was putting together kind of a flow for myself, and for some reason I'm still getting subscribers even though there's like 3 or 4 knives where I didn't even talk about what the steel was. So need to fix that. I think the size comparisons and the measurements and the weight I'm going to do at the end of the overview, right? I don't think that's something that you guys need to wait for a full review to see. I think that's something that, people that see this knife right now and are considering right now if they want to go buy it, they just need to know some of those technical specs before they do so. I would like to give those that information to those people right now, and then save the more in-depth review for things that you can't glean just from looking at the page, or things that you can't just discern at a moment's notice. That's really what this is for. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bust out the scale. Let's go ahead and, there we go. 2.7 ounces, so lighter than I initially thought, which is fantastic. I mean, anything under 3 ounces, and I mean, it's already barely noticeable. All right, and let's take a quick measurement. So it looks like we have, trim on the tip there, about 3 inches of blade, and then an overall length of about 7 inches. So yeah, 3 inches of blade, 7 inches overall. So certainly not a large knife by any stretch. Some size comparisons. We're gonna do the Kubi Verajero, and we're also gonna do the Concept Fermi. Review coming on the Fermi soon. Big fan. And we're also gonna do the Real Steel Sylph. There we go. So you get the idea. Not too terribly big. All right, well, that's all we have for this video. Let me get my words. Perfect. All right, so do me a favor in the comments. Let me know, what are your initial thoughts, right? Do you think this is, out of the gate something that you would enjoy? Anything in particular you love about it, or is this something that you wouldn't even consider? Is there a deal breaker to this knife already that you've already determined like it's not for you? I'd love to hear those things down in the comments, so please let me know. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like. If you want to see more content like this, hit subscribe. Please follow me at Sever7 on Instagram. That's SEVR, I put up some pretty cool stuff over there. Other than that, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay sharp.